Welcome back to the Fact Hunter channel, everyone. As always, we invite you to comment the video and suggest topics we could explore for you. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most fascinating yet disturbing chapters of World War II history: the unrealized architectural ambitions of Adolf Hitler and the grand plans for a new capital of the Nazi Empire, Germania. Hitler was not just the Führer of Germany, he was also an aspiring architect. And when he came to power, he sought to reshape Berlin, transforming it into a monumental city that would symbolize the power and supremacy of the Third Reich. His vision for this new capital was a megalomaniacal dream, an entire city built around his ideology of Aryan supremacy, and designed to reflect the grandeur of Nazi Germany. But what exactly was Germania, and why were these grand plans never realized? In this video, we'll explore the secrets of Hitler's architectural ambitions, examining the designs for Germania, the ideologies behind them, and the dramatic reasons that led to their eventual abandonment. So, let's get started. 1. The origins of Germania. The roots of Germania can be traced back to the early 1930s, after Hitler rose to power as Chancellor of Germany. At the time, Berlin was already the capital of the Weimar Republic, but Hitler's vision for the future of the city was far beyond what was present. It was not just a political center, it had to be a manifestation of the Third Reich's ideology and its vision for a new, global order. Hitler's obsession with architecture was influenced by his admiration for ancient civilizations, particularly the Romans, and his desire to create a legacy that would last for millennia. His plans for Germania were not just about constructing impressive buildings, they were about creating an environment that reflected the ideological values of the Nazi regime. The plans for Germania were spearheaded by Albert Speer, Hitler's chief architect, who had previously worked on designing the Zeppelin Tribune and other monumental sites for the Nazis. Speer was a skilled architect, and under Hitler's direction, he began designing a new Berlin that would rival the great cities of history. 2. The scale of the project. The most famous aspect of Germania was the sheer scale of the project. Hitler and Speer wanted to transform Berlin into the world's grandest city, with massive new structures that would dwarf everything else in sight. One of the key components of the plan was the Volkshalle, People's Hall, which would be the centerpiece of the new city. Imagine a building so large that it could fit the entire Cathedral of Notre Dame inside. The Volkshalle was meant to be a vast dome, rising nearly 300 meters, almost 1,000 feet, into the sky. It would have been larger than any structure ever built before, capable of holding tens of thousands of people at once. Its purpose was symbolic: to demonstrate the power and might of the Nazi regime and to serve as a place for mass rallies and ceremonies. Speer's drawings of the Volkshalle are breathtaking in their scale, even though the building was never constructed. The design was meant to evoke the feeling of awe, drawing inspiration from ancient Roman architecture, but it was also a reflection of Hitler's own need to assert control and power over the people. It was a monument to the new order. 3. The axis of power. One of the key elements of the Germania plan was a new boulevard called the Unter den Linden, which would be extended into a grand axis leading directly to the Volkshalle. The idea was to create a visual representation of Nazi power, where the streets and buildings were aligned in a way that symbolized the centrality of the regime. At the center of this axis would stand the Grosser Platz, or Grand Square, a massive open area surrounded by towering buildings. The square would be used for military parades, political rallies, and other ceremonial events. Hitler envisioned this space as a place where people could gather in overwhelming numbers to witness the grandeur of the regime and the scale of its ambitions. The Grosser Platz was designed to dwarf anything that had come before it. For context, the square would have been larger than St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. It would have been flanked by monumental structures on every side, including the massive Reichsarchive, State Archives, a building that would house Nazi records and history, reinforcing the regime's vision of an eternal empire. 4. The influence of Roman and classical architecture. If you look closely at the designs for Germania, you can see the heavy influence of ancient Roman architecture. Hitler and Speer were obsessed with the grandeur and permanence of Roman structures. They believed that ancient Rome had created a civilization that lasted for centuries, and they wanted to emulate that sense of eternal greatness. One of the most iconic elements of this influence was the Triumphal Arch, which was meant to stand at the end of the Grand Avenue leading to the Volkshalle. Modeled after the arches of Roman emperors, this monumental arch was designed to celebrate Nazi victories and the glory of the German people. It was intended to be one of the most striking features of the new city, symbolizing the power of the Führer and his empire. But these designs were not just about copying ancient Rome, they were about using architecture as a tool for propaganda. The structures were meant to convey a sense of timeless power, to make ordinary Germans feel insignificant in comparison to the might of the Third Reich. The idea was to create a built environment that would physically and psychologically reinforce Nazi ideology. 5. The role of the people in Germania. While Germania was designed as a grand showcase of Nazi power, it was also meant to be a place for the German people to come together as a collective. Hitler believed that architecture could play a crucial role in shaping the masses, in creating a sense of unity and belonging among the population. As part of the plan, Hitler envisioned large residential areas that would house workers and soldiers, reflecting the idea of a society based on labor and discipline. The layout of these areas was designed to create a sense of order and hierarchy, with strict divisions between different classes. The Grand City would serve as both a physical and ideological manifestation of the new order. The architecture would have played a key role in shaping the behavior of the people. Massive statues and monuments would remind citizens of their place in the Nazi hierarchy. The city was designed to be a stage for the performance of Nazi ideology, where the individual was subsumed into the collective, and the grandeur of the buildings served as a constant reminder of the Führer's power. 6. The impact of World War II. As we all know, World War II radically changed the course of history. The grand plans for Germania were disrupted by the war, and construction on the project was never fully realized. The Nazi regime's resources were stretched thin as the war effort intensified, and Berlin itself became a target for Allied bombing raids. The war caused significant damage to the infrastructure of Berlin, and much of the proposed construction for Germania was put on hold. By the end of the war in 1945, Nazi Germany had been defeated, and with it, the dream of Germania. After the war, Berlin was divided into East and West, and the remnants of Nazi architecture were either destroyed or left to decay. Albert Speer, who had been one of the chief architects of Germania, was later tried at the Nuremberg trials and sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role in the Nazi regime's war crimes. In the years that followed, many of the plans for Germania were relegated to history books and architectural sketches, serving as a grim reminder of the regime's ambitions and the dangerous potential of unchecked power. 7. Legacy and lessons learned. Though Germania was never built, the plans for the city provide important insights into the role of architecture in shaping ideology and power. The way Hitler and Speer used monumental architecture as a tool for propaganda serves as a cautionary tale about how easily the built environment can be manipulated to serve authoritarian regimes. The ambition behind Germania also reveals the dangers of megalomania and the human cost of such grandiose dreams. Countless lives were lost as a result of Hitler's policies, and the world is still dealing with the aftermath of his vision for global dominance. Today, the idea of Germania exists only in the form of architectural drawings in Nazi propaganda films. But it stands as a stark reminder of how architecture and urban planning can be used to further political agendas, and the importance of recognizing the ideological motives behind the buildings and structures that shape our cities. Conclusion. Hitler's vision for Germania was a grand and terrifying one, filled with massive monuments and monumental structures that would have made Berlin a city of awe and fear. The plans for Germania were never realized, but they remain a chilling reminder of the power that architecture and design can have in shaping society. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the unrealized Germania. If you found this video informative and intriguing, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. What do you think about Hitler's architectural ambitions? Could Germania have become the symbol of Nazi power that Hitler imagined, or would it have been a destructive failure? Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history with us.